If you believe that George Soros has endorsed Ron DeSantis, I got a bridge in New York to sell you. He didn't. I'm going to cut to the chase. George Soros did not praise Ron DeSantis. Sort of, you can maybe argue he did, but he really didn't. He was deriding the man. And he said he hopes that Ron DeSantis and Trump go to war because Trump is a whiny baby who will run as a third party candidate, run as an independent, sabotaging the Republicans and making sure they both lose, and then the Republican Party would have to reform. The man is quite literally hoping that you all do exactly what we are seeing pundits on the right now do. Attack Ron DeSantis and claim that George Soros is endorsing him. I will simplify it one more time, and then I will go through all the data and evidence and quotes and all that. George Soros wants Trump supporters to fight Ron DeSantis to sabotage the Republican Party so that Democrats win. We are now seeing prominent conservatives, people who really love Trump, arguing that this is the kiss of death, that Soros has actually praised and endorsed Ron DeSantis. I don't care for the lies. Believe whatever you want to believe, but I'll tell you the truth. The Gateway Pundit published this overt and insane fake news, which is not surprising to me, which is why I don't use the Gateway Pundit. Full disclosure, Cassandra Fairbanks, the editor-in-chief of Timcast.com, also does write for the Gateway Pundit. I know that. The kiss of death, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis endorsed by George Soros. That is a lie. I like Ron DeSantis. I like Donald Trump. I don't know who would be the better candidate, the better president. I have no idea. There's a lot of good things about Donald Trump, firing people. Was it the Schedule F stuff? That I'm looking forward to. He had great foreign policy, and he may be the only person willing to go nuclear on the establishment. Ron DeSantis has done a lot of really awesome things in Florida, things I really like. But he may decide to play ball to a certain degree so that he doesn't get bogged down like Donald Trump. Pros and cons. Pick your poison. I got no idea. But right now, the battle is beginning. With fears that Ron DeSantis is going to run for office, you are now seeing the war begin. But there's something else here. Another component. One component is that the election just passed. And for those that are working in news and politics, your revenue is drying up for two big reasons. As I mentioned, the election's over. Now there's very little interest in news and politics relative to what it was like in the midterm. It will ramp up and get insane in the next coming year and a half, 2 years, as more money gets dumped into politics. But not only have people lost interest as we're almost 2 years away from the next election, the big one, the presidential election, it's also the beginning of a year where ad revenue is low. So what we're seeing, why is there so much drama and crybaby nonsense? Because people, they're seeing their revenue go down. So they're desperately trying to squeeze blood from a turnip. And thus, making this war between Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump a thing is lucrative. And it's going to make everybody a whole lot of money. Not a lot, but, enough. It's going to get people to click. It's going to make stories like this. We're all going to talk about it. And then for the diehard Trump supporters, they're going to try and push Ron DeSantis out of the race. Well, my friends, let me show you what George Soros actually said. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com, become a member to support our work directly. Click that join us button and share the video, all that good stuff. Smash the like button. Follow me on Instagram or something. Here's what Newsweek wrote. George Soros' praise for Ron DeSantis rattles Trump supporters. Now, this one's also a lie-ish, but, it's a lie, but it's not nearly as bad as saying he endorsed him. Newsweek writes, supporters of Donald Trump have expressed their fury on social media after business tycoon George Soros described the former president as a pitiful figure and predicted he will lose the 2024 nomination to DeSantis. Soros, a Hungarian-American billionaire and philanthropist, blah, 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 blah. The 92-year-old said, my hope for 2024 is that Trump and DeSantis of Florida will slug it out for the Republican nomination. Trump has turned into a pitiful figure, continuing mourning his loss in 2020. Big Republican donors are abandoning him in droves. DeSantis is shrewd, ruthless, and ambitious. He is likely to be the Republican candidate. This could induce Trump, whose narcissism has turned into a disease, to run as a third-party candidate. That would lead to a Democratic landslide and force the Republican Party to reform itself. Quite literally, he said that. That is his hope for 2024. George Soros hopes that you all, Trump supporters and DeSantis supporters, fight each other so that the Democrats win in a landslide. Good job putting out fake news, doing exactly what George Soros wants. He says it. It's in his quote. And there are people who are still absolutely willing to push this garbage. Trump announced he is seeking another term for the White House in November. We get it. Polling suggests DeSantis is by some margin the best placed Republican to defeat Trump. Soros, blah, blah, blah. He's turned into a hate figure for some on the right. We get it. Kari Lake, a Republican who lost the November Arizona gubernatorial election and is currently trying to get that result overturned, described Soros' remarks on Twitter as a kiss of death. No, Kari Lake simply tweeted out. Let me see. Here we go. Kari Lake tweeted this: "The kiss of death. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis endorsed by George Soros." I like Kari Lake. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Kari, this is a fake story, and you should take the tweet down or apologize for putting it up. It didn't happen. Gateway Pundit is just outright making up trash. It's a fake story. As I already read for you, George Soros says, "My hope is that Trump and DeSantis fight so they both lose and Democrats win in a landslide." Does not sound like an endorsement for DeSantis. Sounds like a chaos endorsement to sabotage the Republican Party. Here's what the Gateway Pundit wrote. Hey, Joe Hoft, good job. Florida Governor DeSantis just received the kiss of death. George Soros has endorsed DeSantis for 2024. That is outright fake news, a lie. Anyone who read the quote from Soros knows that's not true. When the devil likes you, you might be doing something wrong. Soros famously admitted to helping the Nazis in World War II, steals, blah, 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 blah. We get it. You're dragging him. After his relationship with the Nazis, Soros is connected to a number of nonprofits. Soros-related groups were behind riots, blah, blah, blah. He then quotes Conservative Treehouse that says, "When billionaire leftist and creepy globalist George Soros is complimenting your personality attributes, you just might be doing the whole Republican presidential candidate thing wrong, just saying." He then quotes, "My hope for 2024, ... Trump and Governor DeSantis of Florida will slug it out for the Republican nomination. Trump has turned into a political figure, continually mourning his loss. Big Republican donors are abandoning him in droves. DeSantis is shrewd, ruthless, and ambitious. He is likely to be a Republican candidate." Hey, Joe, how come you cut off the rest of that quote? The rest of the quote where he says this would result in this would lead to a Democratic landslide and force the Republican Party to reform itself. Why did you stop right here at the first sentence and not include the rest? Granted, there's the video of him posting it. Fine, I can accept that. He says Soros hates President Trump and did all he could to see him removed from office. The fact that he shared this about DeSantis is not a good thing for the Florida governor. Good job, everybody who believes this stuff. Soros may also be trying to make sure that DeSantis doesn't win. He's evil, not stupid. You got it. He's going to spend the next 18 months doing all he can to split the Republican vote. And if the Gateway Pundit was honest and actually gave the full quote to people, the comments would be saying, "Holy crap, this guy is evil. He is trying to destroy the Republican Party." Take a look at how Fox News reported it. George Soros predicts Democratic landslide in 2024 if Trump and DeSantis slug it out. Wow, that's more honest. So it is a bit disappointing to see Kari Lake posting a link to a story that is fake news. I know that Kari Lake is very much pro-Trump and would not support Ron DeSantis running against him. But I will tell you this right now. I despise political tribalism, and I will not vote for either of these individuals if this is what they're going to be doing. I'll tell you this. If Ron DeSantis comes out and says it honestly, he's got my vote, and I will never vote for Donald Trump because this is the kind of garbage I reject and can't stand. You're a Trump supporter? You want to support lies and manipulation? I don't have your back. You're a Trump supporter? You want to call this out and say this did not happen? I have your back 100%. I like Trump. What I don't like is, for the past several years, what made me end up in this position was that the media kept lying about Donald Trump. I don't care if you like or dislike the man. I care about whether or not you're telling people the truth. And if you want to come out and push these lies, don't expect me to support you and don't expect me to assist you in your campaigning. Dan McLaughlin on Twitter said, quote, "Someone said, Kari, you're going to be the DeSantis of the West. Honestly, other than being called Trump in a dress, that is the greatest compliment you could pay me. Carrie Lake, August 14th, 2022, when Ron DeSantis campaigned with her. Here's this Max guy on Twitter, a tweet I saw. He says, Soros Endorse DeSantis is a grifter litmus test. You can safely dismiss the opinions of anyone saying it. First story. DeSantis campaign hits back at Soros-funded election manipulation with ad buy on Hispanic radio network. Next story. George Soros-backed open border group suing DeSantis over migrant flights violates federal tax laws. Here's another story. From Fast Forward, DeSantis suspends Soros-backed state attorney over stance on abortion. And email insights. Ron DeSantis renews George Soros attacks in Law and Order pitch. George Soros does not like Ron DeSantis and wants to see him lose. He also wants to see Donald Trump lose. He wants to see all of you fighting. So this is strange. Why are so many prominent figures helping George Soros? I'd like that question to be answered. You know, I'll say it now, as I've said before. Back during Occupy Wall Street, when I told people what was going on, I had many on the left saying, Tim's an honest journalist. He's a real journalist. And then I called out the violent extremists and they got mad. And they said, why are you pointing the camera at our people? You're supposed to be on our side. I'm not on your side. I'm trying to tell people what's really going on so that good, honest people can build a better nation and figure out how to run things. I am not omniscient and I'm not the only one who can see what's happening, but there are certain things I can call out. While you'll certainly need way more sources than me, I'll do my best. And that's what you will get moving forward. If you want to lie to help George Soros sabotage the Republican Party, do it on your own time, and then I'll sit back and call you a liar. I can't stand this garbage. Well, my friends, there is other news in this space that all comes together. Don Lemon talking about Nikki Haley. All right, let me tell you how this comes full circle. Nikki Haley, okay, well, let's start from the beginning on this one. Nikki Haley, of course, is running for president. I really doubt she'll have an impact. Don Lemon apologizes on CNN staff call for Nikki Haley age comments, but network remains on alert. Don Lemon on his show on CNN said, Nikki Haley says politicians aren't in their prime. Well, she better be careful because she's not in her prime. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. He says she's too old. Basically called her an old hag. He didn't literally say that. He just called her old. And then Poppy Harlow's like, prime for what? Like having kids? Which actually was an astute comment. Like, what does it mean? She's in Nikki Haley is in probably a good age for politics. I just think she's a terrible politician. But yeah, so Don Lemon is forced to apologize. Nikki Haley fires back at Don Lemon. I made liberal heads explode. Did you now? So here's what happens. We get let me pull up this tweet from Cenk Uygur. I hope you enjoy this one. Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks responds to Nikki Haley. He says, Nikki Haley keeps saying how much she makes liberal heads explode. Honestly, I don't know anyone on the left who's ever bothered to think of her, let alone be frustrated by her. And I got to be honest, he's completely right. Nikki Haley is irrelevant. She caters to country club Republicans. That's it. She has like a tiny group of people who follow her. Congratulations on announcing your presidential run. You'll sell some books. To which I responded in a quote tweet, the kiss of death. Cenk Uygur endorses Nikki Haley for president. Do you get the joke? Cenk didn't do it, just like George Soros didn't. I immediately tweeted underneath this, in before someone thinks this is a serious tweet, calm down. You're being too loud. And of course, it didn't matter that I literally tagged my joke as parody, as a joke, because then you get Cenk Uygur tweeting in response to me, I'm confused by this. Not only do I not endorse her, I can't find a way to care about her. Besides, all Republicans are the same. They all have the same agenda, tax cuts for the rich. It's the only thing they ever pass. Everything else is just a trick to get there. Cenk, I literally said in the tweet, did you read it? It's not serious. It's a joke. Okay. But I can't expect Cenk to be following all the news on this stuff, and I mean that literally. So I said it's a reference to an article about George Soros and DeSantis, and then I linked me literally saying, in before someone thinks this is a serious tweet, calm down. You're being too loud. Cenk, it's a tweet thread. There's 2 tweets. I explained the joke. But this is where we're at. So there's a couple different big stories in here. Nikki Haley does not make liberal heads explode. I do not think she's a relevant political candidate, but she's somehow making herself relevant with Don Lemon being forced to apologize. And then this. CNN's Don Lemon takes time off from his morning show a day after his sexist remark about women, as co-host Caitlin Collins says he has the day off, and Poppy Harlow reports on All-Star NBA game in Utah. Oh, man. Can I just tell you guys? Media's imploding. I don't care. I don't care if it's independent media. I don't care if it's corporate press. It's just all coming crashing down. I can only say the best thing you can do is work on becoming as self-sufficient as possible. And as I often talk about chickens and how much chickens are great, and they waddle back and forth and run towards you hoping you have food and treats, they will grant you eggs. Yes, chickens will eat the bugs, they will live in the pods, and they will give you eggs. What a beautiful gift, a blessing. But being self-sufficient doesn't just mean getting out of cities and taking care of chickens. It means y'all are going to have to source this information yourself. Because look, all of these news outlets combined, publishing fake news, get way more views than I do. Now, I get a decent amount of views, and I can say I'll do my best to break down the lies. I don't care where they come from. There's going to be a lot of stuff I get wrong. There's going to be a lot of lies in the mainstream media that I end up falling for because I'm imperfect. And so the best thing you can do is be self-sufficient. So it's fun. It is. It is a bit disturbing to see all the drama bubbling up right after an election. Maybe all of the conservatives were saving the fight until after the midterms because they were scared of losing. You know, Republicans didn't want to lose. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think what happens is everyone becomes desperate. Everyone becomes desperate for some kind of shock content. Don Lemon is now in the news because his temper tantrums have boiled over. Nikki Haley is loving the fact that he basically called her old because it puts her in the press and she's trying to run for president. And of course, people are willing to entertain lies about George Soros because they want Donald Trump to win. I'm just so sick of all of it. I mean it. I was actually contemplating, and I've done this several times, had these conversations, and people seem to think that they're new. I am, how do I describe it? I've long talked about living in a van down by the river ad nauseum. In fact, many of you are probably like, oh, yeah, here we go again. But this is the reason why. Just at 1 p.m., I'm talking about NBC News saying that they have some report that came out saying that natural immunity is stronger than 2 doses of the vaccine, as strong or stronger. And I'm thinking to myself as I see this story, I'm like, what else is new? The fact that all of us know these things. But then the issue is from time to time, I'll do a story where I'm like, guys, I've talked about this. We've talked about this. We've debunked this. You know, not that story specifically, but there will be a story that'll come out that will debunk. And then the same garbage narrative emerges. And the first time this happened, I said, I don't want to talk about it. I don't care. And I got a response from people saying, not everyone knows what's going on. And this, calling out the lies, may be the opportunity for them to realize they're being lied to. So don't assume every single person watches every video. Don't assume every single person knows every single story. Fair point. I took that into consideration years ago, and that's why I say, okay, fine, I'll cover this story, despite the fact I'm going to say a lot of the same things I said last time. This is the fight. Every day, grinding away, realizing this. Some people have pointed out to me as well. I've had people say, I used to watch all of his videos, but then it started becoming the same thing over and over again. And I'm like, I agree, man. I agree. So what do? The problem is, if I don't cover these lies and explain to you when they're lying, some people won't see it, and they'll never be made aware. They'll never be apprised to these lies. So it's tough. It is not easy. It is certainly not easy. But, there are some things that kind of make me feel good, and it's like watching Don Lemon have a mental breakdown and then quit, and Chris Cuomo as well. The New York Times, CNN's chairman rebukes Don Lemon over comments about women. Mr. Lemon's assertion that Nikki Haley was not in her prime had been widely viewed as sexist. It's just the stupidest thing ever. It's all fake. It's all garbage. What does it mean to be in your prime? I don't think any man or woman in their 50s is in their prime. Technically, I'd argue that at 19 is your prime, male or female. Literally. 19-year-old pro skateboarders tend to be like the best pros. And then these pro skaters who are into their early 30s, their skill level drops precipitously. Yeah. I think for most young people, maybe like 19 to 24, that's your prime, your peak. You're maximizing your strength as you're finalizing your human development. And then probably prime is probably more fair to say 24 to 28. And then with social norms and with business and stuff, you can argue that your maximum impact will be in your 30s in general. So physical prime younger, and then societal prime is probably in your 30s for both men and women. So if Don Lemon wants to come out and say she's not in her prime, I ain't gonna rag on the guy for doing so. I think it's funny. Here's the story here. Don Lemon, the CNN morning show anchor, faced an internal rebuke from the chairman of his own network. Chris Licht opened his daily 9 a.m. editorial call by saying the remarks by Mr. Lemon, which were widely viewed as sexist and insensitive, had left him disappointed. Talk about just garbage. Let me tell you a story, my friends. We here at Timcast.com, we don't have editorial morning meetings. We have an internal communication board, and we can talk about stuff. But if someone came out and said something offensive, I would just be like, okay, well, it is what it is. I let the editorial team do their thing. It's just so dumb. There's so many more subjects to be concerned about. But you know what? It generates press for him. The New York Times is talking about him. Quote, his remarks were upsetting, unacceptable, and unfair to his co-hosts, and ultimately a huge distraction to the great work of this organization, Mr. Licht told his staff, according to a recording of the call obtained by the New York Times. Mr. Lemon roiled colleagues on Thursday when he asserted on air that Nikki Haley, the 51-year-old Republican candidate, isn't in her prime. Quote, a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s, 30s, and maybe 40s, Lemon said. Don't shoot the messenger, Mr. Lemon added. I'm just saying what the facts are. Google it. Yeah, Google actually says 50. Blech, come on. Ugh. It's really your 30s. For real, it really is. You get older. You're in your 30s. You're at that point where you're assuming control of these systems. You're taking over. You're becoming the manager. You're moving up to become the boss. That is when you're having your biggest impact. Some people continue and carry on from that. But really, that's for most people, it's your 30s. And you can argue having kids in your 20s, whatever, for men and women. On Friday's call, a far more contrite-sounding Mr. Lemon addressed the matter in a 6-minute monologue to the CNN newsroom. I'm sorry, Mr. Lemon said. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I didn't mean to offend anyone. He added, the people I'm closest to in this organization are women, citing a list of female colleagues, including Dana Bash and Erin Burnett. Mr. Lemon was absent on Friday from his program's broadcast. Though he had previously said he was scheduled to take the day off, he dialed into Friday morning's call from Miami. CNN this morning, this is what they all do. Fox does it. CNN does it. Whenever there's a controversy, they get him on a plane and fly him somewhere and say, no, they were scheduled to take a vacation. It's totally normal. To get him to shut up so they can't start any more fires. The whole system, in my opinion, is just trash. Okay, here we go. Nikki Haley, what did she say? Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley said Friday that sexist attacks like the one launched a day earlier from CNN. Oh, so stupid. These people are all so dumb. It was Don Lemon yesterday. It was The View co-host Whoopi Goldberg the day before. It'll be somebody else tomorrow. I have always made the liberals' heads explode. They can't stand the fact that a minority conservative female would not be on the Democratic side because they know I pull independents. They know I pull suburban women. They know I pull minorities over what we are trying to do. Lemon caused an uproar, blah, blah. We get it. Look at that. Oh, look how happy Caitlin Collins is because Don Lemon's not there. Oh, congratulations on hosting your own show, Caitlin. I think all 10 people watching were excited to see you. Yeah, okay. Nikki Haley doesn't grab independence. This is also dumb. I can't stand any of it. It's all fake. The world's fake. Welcome to the fake reality. If we don't live in a simulation, we live in a fake world comprised of narratives meant to manipulate your worldviews so that you give your support and your labor to somebody who's probably got malintent. Hi, how you doing? That's how I feel about all this. And I don't care if you're on the left or the right. For a period, what I believe I was seeing is that the media was so desperately lying about Donald Trump that if a person like me came out and said, hey, they're lying, Trump supporters said, hey, Tim Pool's a real journalist. Then when Trump came out with his gobbledygook garbage and I said, yeah, that's trash, they said, Tim's a shill for the establishment. He's controlled opposition. No, you're just wrong now. Sorry. I think I'm wrong about a lot of things too. But if you're wrong about something, I'll say it. What we're seeing now is the rise of DeSantis derangement syndrome, which brings me back to the fake kiss of death story. This is exactly it. DeSantis derangement syndrome. Probably the only real threat to Donald Trump's second term hopes is Ron DeSantis, assuming he does run. And we think he's going to run. He's getting attacked in every direction. The left is saying he's more dangerous than Trump because he'll be a competent Trump. Trump supporters are saying he's a shill working with the establishment and he's a plant. And I'm just sitting here like, dude, I don't even know. Ron DeSantis has done a lot of really good things in Florida. And that's good for Florida, but Florida ain't the U.S., so I don't know if he can handle the nation. But Donald Trump also did a bunch of dumb things as well, John Bolton being one of them. I can give him credit in some regards, but Bolton ended up stabbing him in the back. Donald Trump was also bogged down by the deep state with the Russiagate investigation and Ukrainegate impeachment, so I can respect he wasn't able to do everything he wanted to do. But I look at Ron DeSantis, and I think this guy is like a competent Trump. So I go back and forth. Is Trump going to be better? Is DeSantis going to be better? My money is on Trump being the nominee because I just don't think DeSantis has it. However, that's only if Trump and DeSantis go head to head. If Trump bails out, okay, well, yeah, I don't think that's likely. So I'm fairly certain, I haven't been on it in a while, predict it. I think my shares are in Donald Trump being the Republican nominee. Ron DeSantis probably shouldn't run against him. Look how bad it's already getting. But I'll tell you this, man. I'm not interested. I am absolutely not interested in entertaining any liars. You know, so many people on the left refuse to come on this show because they know I'll call them out. I wonder what it's going to be like when we bring in some conservatives who are pushing the lie about DeSantis and George Soros, and then I just say, why did you lie? Why'd you lie? Now, I'll say this. I like Carrie Lake. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt, as I mentioned earlier. She may have just saw this story from the Gateway Pundit and believed it. I can respect that only to a certain degree. Carrie, you need to actually read the quotes. But Joe Hoft over at the Gateway Pundit didn't actually include the full quote as to what George Soros really said. He cut it off. How amazing is that? I wonder why. Seriously. Just shilling for Donald Trump for the sake of shilling for him? Okay, I'll tell you what. If that's the game you want to play, I will do everything in my power to make sure that everybody knows y'all are lying and Trump supporters are lying. And then what I imagine will happen is the independents will just throw up in their mouths a little bit, just being sick of the system, probably vote for DeSantis. This is what I wanted to see. The reason I didn't vote for Donald Trump in 2016 is I didn't trust him. I didn't trust him or Hillary. Then in 2020, I said, I'll give the guy my vote because I see a media apparatus, a narrative machine that just lied, was lying, cheating, and stealing. And now what are we seeing from the Trump camp? Not Trump himself necessarily. I mean, he is attacking Ron DeSantis. There was a media report claiming that he called him like Meatball Ron or something. I think Trump denied that. He calls him Ron DeSanctimonious, which is a terrible name. Ungrateful or something like that. What we're seeing is from Trump supporters who seem to think that they're going to be able to pull a fast one on the faction of people that came to existence resisting the narrative lies from the corporate press. What made you think this was going to work lying about this? What made you think the average person would fall for it? The people who voted for Trump tend to be, well, conservatives, but many of them tend to be those who saw through the lies of the corporate press. So by all means, keep trying to lie and see how that works out for you. But I can't imagine it'll work out well because it's going to leave a sour taste in people's mouths. Soros endorsed DeSantis is a grifter litmus test. You can safely dismiss the opinions of anyone saying it. I don't think Ron DeSantis is the best possible choice. I don't know for sure. Trump may be better. If in a year and a half or 2 years, the Trump camp and its supporters keep lying like this, I will gleefully vote for Ron DeSantis and advocate for everyone I know to do the same. But I'll point this out too. When Luke Rudkowski, who hates the government, is saying good things about Ron DeSantis, that says a lot. I mean, Luke doesn't really like the government, so. But when people are pushing lies in an effort to support Donald Trump to the detriment of Ron DeSantis instead of winning on the merits, you lost me. I don't know what Donald Trump has to offer at this point. I've seen his videos. He said some good things. He's talking about culture war issues, which is smart. But going after Ron DeSantis in this way is a bad move. I'll tell you how Donald Trump wins this one. He simply says, Ron DeSantis may be one of the greatest leaders we have seen in this country in a very, very long time. He has transformed Florida in a way no one thought possible, shifting the politics there by double digits. Truly an impressive feat. His policy actions in Florida have led to prosperity, have helped people see through this pandemic, and have done away with insane leftist ideologies. Ron DeSantis is truly a great governor, but he's not a president and he doesn't have that experience. And that's why Donald Trump is the right choice. Donald Trump spent 4 years bogged down by a deep state establishment and then a pandemic. He learned a lot in the position and brought you the best numbers of your lives in the economy. That means when placing the bet, Donald Trump is the safer choice. And Ron DeSantis will be an excellent choice in 2028. That is how you advocate for Donald Trump, not this garbage. I can give you all the arguments in the world for why Donald Trump's the better choice. His foreign policy was amazing. Not perfect, but really good. But I will gladly vote against the man if y'all just keep spitting in my face and lying to me. And I'll take Ron DeSantis and all of his inexperience and imperfections as long as he tells me the truth. And I think many people agree. I think a lot of people do. Trump doesn't get a free pass and get to lie his way through this one. Now, I'm not blaming Trump for what other people are doing. I like Trump. He's not the perfect guy, but, he may be the right choice. We'll see how people handle it. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.